To everybody who's been liking the videos so far, we thank y'all. You guys liking the videos has kind of helped us start to grow the channel even more, so we appreciate it. To those who have not, please, we ask you, hit the like button before you even watch this video. It helps us grow the channel, helps people learn about us, and allows us to make more great content like this. So that's all we got. Thank you for helping us grow this channel. Hit the like button right now, and on with the show. I think we are cooking, sir.
Word.
Super duty tough work.
Yeah.
Once again.
The boys is back.
Back to back weeks on that ass. You know, we just show up, man. We just show up. We not the best. We not the worst. We just show up, though.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes that's how you become the best, man.
Yeah, consistency.
Yeah. You know, it's nothing deliberate. We just show up, man, and everything takes care of itself.
Right.
For those of you who don't know, this is Blueprint. It's my friend Illogic. How you doing today, Illogic?
I'm good, man. It's been a long day so far already.
It's early as hell. How's it long?
I know. Well, my youngest, he had his last day of driving. He taking his little driving courses to get his license and stuff. So he had his last day of that, but it was at 8:30 a.m. So I've been up since like 7:45.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's been a long day already, you know. Yeah.
So you didn't get to sleep in today like you usually do, huh?
Nah. You know, I usually do on Sundays. You know what I'm saying?
I know your style, son. I know you do. I never
Sundays
schedule
usually
these early.
Yeah, Sunday usually the rest day.
Yeah.
You know,
keep the Sabbath holy. You know what I mean?
Right. I don't get out of bed till noon. You know what I mean?
I wish I could do that real, man. I miss that, man. I fucking miss that, man. I've had to change my sleeping habits so much just to start driving that, like, even for driving school, like that shit was a struggle.
Yeah.
One of my classmates was like, I was like, dude, that's a struggle to get here every day. And he was like, yeah, you look like somebody pulled a gun on you, got you out of the bed. I was like, that's how I felt every day. I was never late. I was never fucking late. I was always on time. But like, when you used to getting up at 4 a.m., I was going to sleep at like 4 a.m., 3 a.m., 4 a.m., work on music. Then all of a sudden you gotta be somewhere at 7 a.m.
Right.
Your body be like, nah, fam, what is you doing?
Yeah, that's different.
Yeah. Just because you get in bed don't mean we gonna go to sleep. You just lay there and not get no sleep. So my sleeping habits are just now starting to change. Thankfully, you know. So I can actually fall asleep around 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock on most days, which is fucking crazy as shit. But I guess I'm getting old. Responsibilities and shit. You know?
Yeah.
So here we are today, folks. We're going to talk about hip hop this week. And this is something we thought about talking about a few weeks ago, but we didn't get around to it, you know. And it's about Nas. We've talked about Nas many times on this show.
Few times, good and bad.
Yeah, we give it up when it's good.
Mm-hmm.
When we don't like it, we just, no. But, you know, Nas dropped a new record. Was it on Christmas Day or New Year's Day? I can't remember.
I think it was it New Year's? I think it was New Year's.
Okay. One of the. So listeners, you'll have to correct us on that. We know it was a holiday and it was unexpected. And it was a project called Magic. And the record is dope.
It's the best of the three.
Yeah, he's dropped 3 records with Hit-Boy. I really like 2 of the 3. And the one that I'm not super duper crazy about still got some joints on it.
Yeah, I mean, it's still better than some of his, previous work.
Yeah. And so we wanted to talk about that record, but we want to do it in a different way. What I wanted to do this week, instead of just like where we normally talk about Nas and go through track by track, we want to talk about like why this pairing is working for him, between him and Hit-Boy. And I thought the best way to do that was to use their own words, use clips from interviews from them about why the Nas and Hit-Boy connection works. And I think these things will reveal not only why their connection works, but why certain producers are just great producers in general. at every level, you know, and even why it made me look at like why some of my working relationships, like with you, have always worked through some of these things I'm seeing them do and talk about. And we're going to talk about that and break it all down about the Nas and Hit-Boy connection. And I hope you guys get something out of it, especially if you're a beat maker, or producer, or music maker, because these things can definitely help you in what you do. And we'll take a break and we'll be right back.
We got you stuck off the realness, the most infamous, you heard of us. Official podcast murderers, the show comes equipped with viewpoints to share. Grown man ideas for all those who care and wanna grow, so go ahead and download. Every single week with a brand new episode. You're not alone in this world, cousin, so we share information and honest discussion and keep repping a culture like we supposed to. They spread gossip, but they never come close to. I can hear it inside their tone. They talk about the industry but never left their home. You get laced up with bullet points and such, plus empowering topics that they never would touch. You can put your whole network against the team, but Super Duty Tough Work's the MVP. Most valuable podcast on MP3. Priceless info, but all of it's free. So take these words home and think them through. Super Duty Tough Work is coming at you. You are now listening to Super Duty Tough Work with your host, Blueprint. Raw and uncut. Adult conversations. No shucking, no jiving, and no bullshit.
All right, folks, we're back. Super Duty Tough Work. Print Magnificence. Illogic. Talking about the Hit-Boy Nas connection. You'll have to pardon me. I'm dealing with a little bit of cold, so if I sneeze, don't take it personally. It won't go through the digital, through the internet and get you sick. But the first thing we're going to talk about with this connection is something I like to say. Rule number one, or observation number one, is compliment the artist, don't compete with them. I'll say that again. Compliment the artist, don't compete with them. And check this out.
You know, he a complex rapper. He gonna say a bunch of different things with a bunch of different flows. So you gotta just compliment that versus just like, okay, here go a beat and that's it. I'm leaving the studio. I'm sitting there and I'm arranging sections of the beat and I'm making it complement what he's doing vocally and lyric wise.
We know a little something about that.
This is true.
When I listened to that clip, it straight up reminded me of like the process that we learned through doing like Unforeseen, Got Lyrics, Celestial Clockwork, which was, and we've talked about a show where like Illogic would just show up with like rhymes a lot of times. And then it would be kind of up to me to find something that worked for his rhyme. But part of the process was him kind of laying something down and then me going back and molding it around his lyrics.
Yeah.
It's such a different approach for people who haven't done it. A lot of producers, especially now that production has kind of become like a standalone thing.
Right.
Where you can become a successful producer without even ever working with an artist, vocalist. This is kind of a lost art.
Yeah, really.
As people are in the studio less and less together, we did those records when, you literally came to the crib and we just would hang out.
Yeah.
We freestyle some, we talk some shit, tell stories. How was your week? Talk about rap. And then we listen to beats and just work on music. And that's hard to do now. But listen to this clip. I thought it was really dope. Hit-Boy's talking about how like, he's not just playing generic beats, not just dropping off beats and stepping off. He views his job as not to like give Nas the ultimate banger and just,
Right.
It's like, what are you doing? I need to compliment him, which means compliments his strengths, which I think is fucking dope.
Yeah, and it's also, you look at it like a lot of cats just send 2-track. You know what I'm saying? Send a beat, you lay your verse, and we go from there. And with this pairing, it seems like Hit-Boy not only is creating beats surrounding his lyrics, but also making beats and setting them aside that he think would work with what Nas does anyway.
Yes.
And it's given Nas, something a little different than what he's used to, because Hit-Boy's not Premier. Hit-Boy's not, whoever else he had been using. Like, he's definitely one of those producers that has an ear for what the artist is doing and makes music accordingly.
Yes, I agree, man. And if you are a producer out there, when you hear people speak like that, you got to understand that it's sometimes being the dopest isn't as important as being the guy who can mold his music around the artist's vision.
Right.
And you can have the craziest, dopest beats by themselves, but if you can't mold them around what that artist is trying to do, you probably won't get as much work. I got another clip I'm gonna play from Nas speaking on the same thing.
We meet each other. Like if I'm going here, he's coming here.
Right.
If he goes there with the music, I'm coming there. It's like that's the way we push each other.
Right.
And if you listen to the production is, he just fine tunes this sound just a hair, and then on over here he places this sound here, and it's not too much of this and not too much of that. Allows me to cut through with the rap. He's not trying to outdo me. I'm not trying to. We're
You guys
together.
are instruments working together.
Facts.
What do you think about that, sir?
Yeah, I mean that's the ultimate, producer MC relationship. That's what you shoot for. That's the reason that I continue to do albums with one producer, because I can have that. Even like the stuff me and Blockhead did, like having one producer, it allows us to kind of bounce off of each other and say like, okay, you're going to do this song to this beat. Okay, let me make sure this drops out here. Let me make sure, you know what I'm saying? So your voice can cut through. Let me make sure these beats complement you and bring forward the lyrics. Because if you're a rapper, the most important part, honestly, is the lyrics. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
As far as being an MC, so the lyrics have to be able to cut through and have to have the right balance between the lyrics and the beat for it to make sense. And I think they found that balance.
Yeah. I think it was really dope to hear him speak around, like space. One thing that Nas and now a lot of vocalists speak about it, but they can't necessarily articulate what they're looking for.
Right.
And I find that a lot of producers will get frustrated with vocalists and rappers and shit because they'll be like, the beat is dope. Why don't you like it as is? Or why can't you just rock to this as is? And it's hard for artists to articulate the issue, but the issue is space.
It's always the issue.
Always space, right? It's like either you leave enough space for an artist to hear themselves in that space. You have to leave that there. It's like you walking into a house and it already got furniture all over the place. People don't really gravitate to that versus you walk into a room or a house you just bought and there's nothing in there. You're like, this is a dope house. I can really fill the space up with my vision, with who I am, right? That's how music is. When when there's no space for a vocalist, they're not gonna gravitate towards that piece of music.
Yeah, and it also shows Hit-Boy. It also shows the difference between a producer and a beat maker. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Because when you just make beats, most people that just make beats or, call themselves instrumentalists aren't even thinking about MCs. They're not even thinking about anything else being there. So they fill the space with music, which isn't bad if that's what you're going for. But if you're a producer for a rapper, or for a singer or for whatever, for a vocalist, period, then you have to make sure that there's space for that vocalist to, get their point across. That's the thing that, I've found sometimes the most difficult, in production myself is when I make beats, hearing the fact that there's a lot going on, so there's really no space for me. If I'm gonna use this to rap, I need to take some stuff out, maybe just use that extra instrument for the hook as opposed to having it repeat throughout the, you know what I'm saying? So there's a lot of things to think about. And, this is really the difference between a producer and a beat maker. And there's nothing wrong with either one, but,
Yeah, I totally agree. And I want to add on to that. Like one thing you hear producers say sometimes in response to this is, well, rappers just be liking simple beats. Like, why you always like the simple stuff? They think that simple is bad.
Right.
They think that like leaving space for a vocalist means that the beat is just weak or soft or that it can't be complex or, you know what I'm saying? Like it can't, like they're sacrificing something musically by leaving space for the vocalist. It's like, nah, that's not true, man. You got plenty of time, like you're saying, whether it's the chorus, whether it's the outro, whether it's the intro, You have all these places where you can use these sequences and pieces of music that you made. But what you don't want to do is use it to compete with the vocalists when they're trying to do what they're trying to do.
Yeah. I mean, and it's a reason that a lot of the 90s hip hop was basically a loop. And then the rhyming part was just that loop filter.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
That's
and
it.
it wasn't nothing crazy going on. It was the bass line, that filtered loop, and the drums.
Yep.
And that was it. And that gave the rapper space to rhyme over. Most of the classic songs that we like, that was the formula.
Facts.
You know what I mean?
Facts, man. And so, I mean, even if I look at like Celestial Clockwork, you and I, that record, to people who listen to it, it sounds weird and abstract and kind of, but there's always space for you to rhyme.
Right.
There's never a moment on that record where you're competing with the beat vocally and people can't hear you and you're not cutting through.
Right.
It's like a perfect balance of like, it's challenging musically, but it's never competing with you. It's interesting compositionally, but it's not like overpowering you. It's just kind of there doing its weird thing. Like even the title track is the best example. Weird little vocoder thing. And it's there, but it's not like dominant. And as soon as you come in, it's like, bow, it's about you. That's how it should be. And that's what Hit-Boy understands. If you understand space for a rapper like Nas, he's going to fuck with you all the time.
Facts.
You know, because I'm sure other producers like a Just Blaze to me. When Just Blaze does his boom bap style, I always feel like the music has just got too much going on.
Yeah, and it's too loud.
Too loud.
Like the main, the main driving instrument a lot of times is super loud with Just Blaze music. And it takes a great engineer to make sure that the vocals can cut through that. But it still sometimes sounds like they're competing. Even though the beats are amazing. You know what I'm saying? It sounds a lot like, you know, the artist and the beat is competing because Just want to shine too. You know what I mean?
Yes. And and he's a perfect example, like kind of the opposite of way of doing it that Hit-Boy does it.
Right.
And Hit-Boy might seem a little more subtle sometimes, but that's what artists are looking for. So that's the number one thing, you know, compliment the artist, don't compete with them. Number two thing we're going to talk about is Hit-Boy puts the strengths of the artist first.
Yeah.
You know, he doesn't say, well, since I'm good at this, if I work with you, you got to take my sound. So that as soon as people hear it, they're thinking about me first, me, as opposed to saying, what are you already good at? Let's make sure that you're doing that. And so I'm going to play a clip of Hit-Boy talking about that.
We're able to allow your music and allow him to cut through and get the best performance.
It's just a balance. Like I said, I want it to be his essence. So anything I play him is gonna be something that I can hear him on. I'm not just playing random beats. Like I'm playing stuff that even if it has a different texture to it that you might not be used to Nas, you know, hearing Nas over, it's still gonna have a break beat or a drum pattern that feels like I can hear Nas on it. So
yeah. He got it figured out, man.
Yeah, man, that is super important. You know what I'm saying? It's super important to make sure, because if you look at Hit-Boy's track record, because he did the last Benny the Butcher album too.
Yep.
And the beats on the Benny the Butcher album don't sound like the beats on any of the Nas albums.
Yep.
Because he plays to the strengths of who he's working with, as opposed to just having his signature, you know what I'm saying, on the production of whatever he's working on. He makes sure that he's always complimenting who he's working with and plays to their strengths. And most of the time it works out for him. Like he's killing the game right now.
Yeah. And that's very hard for a producer to do. It's very hard.
It is.
You know, like if I think about it, like, and I don't want to sound disrespectful to DJ Premier, but because I'm a super duper DJ Premier fan, I think that might be why Nas is a little hesitant to do a whole album with him.
Yeah, because Premier has a style.
Yes.
Premier is going to give you Premier beats.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? And that's what you get when you work with Premier. Like, you know, for the most part, when you hear a Premier track. You know what I'm saying? Like, you only know it's a Hit-Boy track because his tag is in there.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So it's definitely a difference, and that makes sense.
Yeah, man. Yeah, and so I think Because a lot of people just say, oh, you should work with Premier just because y'all make dope shit. Yeah, we know they make dope shit together. They got classics.
Right.
But like you said, every time you hear a Premier track, it's Premier doing Premier.
Mm-hmm.
It's not necessarily, okay, what's best for this artist?
Right.
Let me put their strengths first instead of mine. Premier's like, nope, we're going to do this my way.
Yeah.
You're not going to get no beat CDs. I'm going to cook up every beat right here on the spot. You know, I'm going to do the cuts right here on the spot. We'll make one song at a time, you know, and maybe that doesn't work for Nas right now.
Right. Right.
You know, Nas is like, look, I just want to, you know, play to my strengths. You know, it can't just be about Premier giving everybody what he gives them the same all the time, you know? So I think that's another reason why Hit-Boy is really, really, really killing the game. And so that's number 2. So we'll take a break and we'll be right back.
Work.
This is your weekly reminder that we have 2 books that you, as a listener or watcher of this podcast, need to absolutely own. The first is The 10 Traits of Successful Hip Hop Artists, and the second is The Social Media Cheat Code. Both of these books were released within the last year. The 10 Traits of Successful Hip Hop Artists is a book where I go through the stories and explain the traits that are behind the success of some of the biggest names in hip hop today. The book has got nothing but amazing feedback. And if you are an artist, business person, whatever you do, if you would like to be inspired and would like to learn more about hip hop along the way and also see some reinforcement of the concepts that we talk about on this podcast, The 10 Traits of Successful Hip Hop is for you. Second book is The Social Media Cheat Code. That is for everyone who listens to this podcast who does not consider themselves an expert or really good at social media. It's not for super experienced people. It's actually for people who are on social media but are not getting the results you need. So what we did is I broke down like 12 or 13 strategies that I use all the time that actually work really well for me. I put it into a book. I gave you examples and I tell you how to implement it. That's a book you absolutely need as a listener to this podcast, watcher of this podcast. If you're on YouTube, supporting these books actually goes a long way towards supporting the podcast. So to support the show, if you like what we do, obviously we don't necessarily get paid to do this shit. So support the products and services that we create. And these 2 books are a big part of that. We appreciate your support, and back to the show.
All right, folks. Back. Super Duty Tough Work. The most infamous podcast on planet Earth. This week we're talking about the Nas and Hit-Boy connection. Why is it working?
Mm-hmm.
How are they giving us these dope albums out of nowhere? How has Nas not fucked it up yet?
Or Hit-Boy fucked it up,
Yeah,
really.
how come
You know,
Hit-Boy how come they ain't fucked it up yet? Like, we haven't seen this kind of run from Nas in a minute.
right?
Like 3 joints in a row.
Yeah, all pretty much bangers.
Yeah.
Like, you know, King's Disease 2. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like,
For
it was
me, but
it was
some-
good.
Yeah, some people like it more than one. I disagree, but
I disagree as well.
it's not whack.
Nah, it's not whack at all.
You know, so yeah, so what we're hoping to do is hopefully if you're a producer, music maker, collaborator of any sort, hopefully you hear these little bullet points that we're talking about. You can kind of take this and apply this to whatever it is you do, and it will kind of hopefully bring you some similar results, because I think these lessons that we're hearing from these vocal clips really explain a lot. So this next point we want to talk about is having no agenda and no politics. This is point number 3, and we're going to let Nas just talk about this one.
NAACP, I think he got it this year, producer of the year. I think he's producer of the year this year again. So I can't walk away from that energy.
Right.
I think what me and him have is just pure music making. There's no his music knowledge is that crazy. And I think when you're working with somebody, that producer has to. There's no ego. There's no. I'm better than you, you're better than me. It's like, yo, let's do something together.
Right.
It was no thoughts of money. It was no thoughts of anything other than the music. So that's a thing that is just so natural. It just
Yeah.
Yeah.
in an industry where there's so much politics,
Right.
where literally every producer want to do a record with Nas. Like every single fucking producer who's ever done dope rap music wants to work with Nas.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, some for the opportunity, most, you know, for the status bump that it would give them. It's gotta be kind of challenging for Nas to pick producers who don't care about that shit and just want to do dope shit.
Yeah. And I think that's what's making it so good is that, for one, Nas don't got to make another record.
No.
Nas ain't have to make Nas ain't have to make these 3 records. And I think that combined with his relationship with Hit-Boy, there's no pressure. He's back doing it for fun. He's back doing it because he loves it, not because he has to fulfill some quota for a record label.
Yes.
Because, you know what I'm saying? Like, he's doing it because he loves it, not because he has to do it. And I think that combined with the relationship and combined with Hit-Boy's style of presenting Nas with beats that are strictly for him, creating around his lyrics, is making it fun for Nas again, to where that's why, because he feels so free when he rhyming. It
You can
feels
tell.
so free. Like, he ain't thinking about, you know, I got to make this sound like Illmatic. I got to make, he just like, I'm going to spit some dope shit. The beat is dope. The rhymes are dope. I'm spitting. And that's all that matters.
Yes.
And that's why the last 3 records, I think, are some of the best work that he's done to date.
Yeah. And even if you look at it from like a macro view, like you're saying with the label, Nas just dropped a record, ain't got no singles, no music videos, no fucking advance warning. Just dropped it. That's probably how he probably been wanting to do music like that for 10, 15 years.
Exactly.
But so much was in the way. So many expectations were out there. And like now he's like able to do that and just not give a fuck. Like, yo, there ain't no singles on here. Ain't no real chorus. This is not a commercial record.
Right.
This is all album joints for my hardcore fans.
Yep.
That's the kind of freedom that most artists don't have.
Yeah.
Not even a Jay-Z got that kind of freedom.
Right. And it's weird because you would think that Jay would have made a move like this first.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because Jay-Z don't have to drop another record ever.
It's true. It's true.
You know what I'm saying? But if he does, is he still going to be in a situation where he got all these quotas he got to fill? There got to be a single on there. There got to be, 3, 4 videos. There got to be this. There got to be that. Like, that puts too much pressure on it when you're rich enough to where you can just do the art and people going to pick it up anyway, especially if it's dope.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the place you want to be once you hit their level in the game.
Yeah.
Like, look, I can just do what the fuck I want to do. And I don't got to worry about no sales or no fucking setup or no fucking, none of that politics. I'll just drop it. And Nas is at that point where it's like, he owns his own shit now. He can do what he want to do now.
Yeah. Move how he want to move.
Drop. Move.
Yeah. This is one thing I always wondered about artists that were mainstream, that were extremely successful.
Yeah.
As to, and not knowing, what their contract situation is. But why do cats keep signing with different labels once you get to a certain point in the game? Like, we show, the underground cats and the other tiers of hip hop show that you don't need a record label to put a record out. And if you got Jay-Z money, you can put a record out just as, with just as much fanfare as a record label, but it be all your shit. Like, why? I don't understand why cats don't make that move a lot sooner. I know it takes, but they have the money to hire a team.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
yes.
They can do the same thing that a record label does and it be their own shit and have the freedom to do it how they want. I never understood why they continue, to sign a new contract with this new label or that new label instead of just putting the fucking record out.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, and once you know the game, you've been in it for 10, 20 fucking years.
Right.
You understand that, like, yo, I really don't need all these dudes to do this kind of music. But it goes to show you just how, like, the longer you're in the system, the more dependent upon the system you become.
And that's crazy to think about.
And so, like, sometimes the worst thing for an artist is being signed for a long time.
Yeah.
Because they don't know how the music industry works. I mean, look at, like, a lot of the rappers who were in, like, the 90s rappers that we grew up on or influenced by. they
Mhm.
struggled to become independent artists.
Yeah.
When we were selling tapes and CDs and vinyl and shit, they was just kind of on the sideline, like, what the fuck are y'all doing?
Yeah. And didn't understand like how, the newer cats were making the moves that they were making
Yeah.
because they didn't really understand the industry. They were just rappers.
Yep. Like the
You know what I mean?
only cats who made the transition from our lane successfully was like the hieroglyphics guys.
Yep.
They smoothly came from one record in the industry to independent powerhouse like that.
Yep.
Immediately. They didn't sit out like, oh, let me try to figure out what's going on. Can I tour? Do people actually buy merch? No, they were immediately in it and winning at it.
Yeah.
A lot of their peers did not.
Yeah, to the point they got their own festival. They
Yeah.
got, you know what I'm saying? Like they're doing, and each of them individually as hieroglyphics, not even just Souls of Mischief, as hieroglyphics, each of them individually have their own ventures that are successful. Like them cats don't have to work again in their lives if they don't want to.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like they got this, nice little nest egg of shit, even if it's a side hustle, even if they do have to get a job,
Yeah.
they're probably doing pretty well with the side hustle, as part of hieroglyphics.
Yeah. All from one major label album for real.
Yeah.
Dale had basically one. Souls had one. Casual had one. Pep Love one. Like all of them just had one joint. Really,
Just
their
had
second one
one.
wasn't promoted.
Yeah,
You know what I
extra
mean?
prolific, like all
Extra
of
Pro,
them.
yeah, one
Yeah.
joint, and they took that shit and killed the game with it.
Mhm.
So yeah, man, there's the agenda and the politics of being on a major label are very deep, and the sooner you can disconnect from that, the better. And so I think what we're saying is one of the reasons that Nas and Hit-Boy are working together so successfully is because they are able to work together without that.
Yeah.
When they have both been surrounded for it with throughout their whole careers.
Yeah,
And,
no red tape.
No red tape. Like, hey, you want to do some music? Let's do some music.
Yeah.
People don't understand that a lot of the industry wants to move like that, but as soon as somebody wants to work with somebody, they manager got to sign off. They label got to sign off. You can't work with him because this label and that label got some issues right now. We're going to hold this feature that they got on their record because we don't want to clear them because, X, Y, and Z. It's just a lot of bullshit.
Yeah.
So two dudes who are doing great are able to just do what the fuck they want to do, which is fucking dope.
Yes.
So that's number 3 thing. The number 4 thing we want to point out is that personality matters.
Yes.
To all you musicians who think it's all about being dope. If you're dope, you will eventually, find the right artist and they'll choose you and the shit will magically work just because your beats are fire. I hate to break it to you. Personality matters.
Yeah.
It fucking matters. Nobody care if your music dope if you a fucking weirdo
Or an asshole.
or an asshole. They can't stand being in the studio with you because of just how you fucking act.
Yeah.
You can't get nothing done. So I'm gonna let them talk about this for a second. Play a couple clips.
We meet each other. Like if I'm going here, he's coming here.
Right.
If he goes there with the music, I'm coming there. It's like that's the way we push each other.
Right.
And if you listen to the production is he just fine tunes this sound just a hair, and then on over here he places this sound here.
Hold on, I think that was the wrong one.
Yeah, I
that's
about
the
to
wrong.
say.
But I played that one before. Hold on, this is the one I'm looking for. Where is that shit at? This one.
It feels great. Like with Death Row East, that was the first song we worked on, and for this album, all new records, and we started with Death Row East, and the way by the time we was done with it, I was able to two-step to a story of mine, and I don't really write to think about dancing or two-step, and so when I was able to two-step to with my drink, we're in the studio and having conversations like we had now before the record was out. Every time we played Death Row East in the studio, there was like a 2-hour conversation afterwards. Like after certain songs, there was like long conversations after it. I like that experience.
The Hit-Boy brings that energy.
Yeah.
And here's one of Hit-Boy talking about the same kind of thing with like the conversations and the working relationships that they had.
But more so, not only did he crown you producer of the year, he called you his Quincy.
it wasn't him like directly comparing me to Quincy, because I saw some people saying that like, oh, like, well, you know how people gonna talk shit, but he's just talking about as far as the relationship, the working relationship, and beyond the music we connect. Like we can sit and have a conversation before we even start working. It might go for an hour, it might go for 2 hours, but once we get the information that, you know, we left in the room, it goes into the music immediately. Like we might talk, then I might pull up a beat, a couple beats, and he just like starts saying something we was just talking about.
Yeah, that sounds really familiar, doesn't it?
It does. Yeah, I was like, yeah, that's how the best music is made.
Yeah.
You know, going to the studio was not just I play a beat, you write a fucking rhyme right then and there. We record it, the end.
Right.
It's like you're hanging out with people.
Mm-hmm.
You're discussing ideas, current events, what you're going through, your vision for that.
Yeah.
There's been so many times that like I would hear something and I'd hear a beat, and if even me and RJ go through the same way you and I go through that. Where like if I was me and RJ would be talking, sitting around listening to beats, but the whole first time we're sitting around, we're just talking shit, and beats are just playing.
Yeah.
And then eventually I'm like, yo, I like that. You hear something that like sounds like it could fit the emotion of what you were just talking about.
Yeah.
But if you don't have those conversations, if you ain't in the room with that person, if your personality is trash and you're such an introvert that you can't even hang out with these dudes for a couple hours, you know what I'm saying, to let them talk and to see where they're at, you'll never have those experiences and you'll never make those songs.
Yeah, and that's what the thing about music is. A lot of music becomes classic to us because we relate them to experiences.
Mm-hmm.
So if you do that in the creative process of the music, then the music becomes special to you personally. You know, a lot of times, like, I mean, shit, like, yeah, it's a little darker, but when we recorded Hate in the Puddle, we had a really long talk after we recorded it. You know,
like, man, you cool, man?
We had a really, really long talk. But even like a song like Lesson in Love, we had I told you that story, and you was like, you should write a song about it, because I hadn't written it yet.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because that shit really happened, and we had that conversation, and it came out that way. Like, that's when some of the best music is made, when you have these conversations and you have these relationships and you're able to bounce ideas off of each other and really have moments together.
Yes.
That's when the best music is made.
Yeah, I agree. And, you know, this is a good one to know just for like all of you producers and others guys who just do beats. So I'm not trying to single y'all out or say, you know, y'all are doing it wrong. But the advantage that we have as rappers and producers is that we've seen both sides.
Right.
You know, we understand both sides of the songwriting process. It's not just about a beat. It's not just about a rhyme. It's about this marriage. And you can't have this marriage if there's personality conflicts.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you have to have this balance where like, yeah, we do music together, but that's my motherfucking man. We could hang out for 2 hours, 3 hours and not make music. Just talk about the fucking Lakers and the fucking Celtics. I don't give a shit.
Right.
And not piss each other off and laugh and come up with some shit. And while you be doing that, motherfuckers is playing beats and we just hang out. The next thing you know, magic is being made.
Yep. No pun intended.
Right. Nice. I didn't even catch that. Yeah, but yeah, magic is being made. You know, but it sounds like that's exactly what their relationship is. Mm-hmm. And there are many producers who feel like, why didn't I get the shot to work with Nas for 3 albums straight?
Right.
Because no one else had. Not a whole album. And he's worked with all the greats.
Mm-hmm.
Kanye only got one.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's like, the reason is, to me, it sounds like from these clips that the reason it works is because Hit-Boy is just as good of a producer as he is. He understands the social element of making music.
Yeah. And they're friends.
Yeah.
They're fucking friends. Like, making music with your friends is some of the best shit ever. This is why, you know, back in the Spitball days, like, just hung out with cats and we just sat in Prism's crib and just wrote fucking rhymes but just sat around talking, laughing, joking. And you make some of the best music at that times because you're with your friends and you're creating those moments, man.
Yeah, I agree. So yeah, we'll take a break and we'll be right back.
Word.
Quick announcement. Over the last several years, we've been asked many times by the listeners of the show if we would ever open it up to the public for advertising. We've always been interested in this, but we never had the systems in place to make it work properly. I'm proud to announce that we are officially accepting advertising from the public on Super Duty Tough Work. Meaning, if you're a small business owner or an artist and you'd like to create more awareness about your product, service, or release on the Super Duty Tough Work podcast, we're now in a position to do that. For more information, email us at superdutytoughwork@weightless.net. Again, that's superdutytoughwork@weightless.net. Email us there. Tell us a little bit about who you are, what you would like to promote, and we'll get back to you as soon as possible to let you know if we think it's a good fit and what the next steps are. Thank you for your time. Back to the show.
Super Duty Tough Work. Back.
Yeah.
Talking about the Nas and Hit-Boy connection, why it works. Hope you guys are enjoying this episode. It's a little different for us, but I figure we will change things up every now and again so that, y'all don't know what to expect.
Right.
So we got one last point to make in this clip right here. This point is just basically about versatility. Is one of the reasons why their pairing works. I think Nas values not making the same boom bap album every time.
Mm-hmm.
I know a lot of people expect him to do certain things, but he wants to involve himself. And then I think that there is, a history of versatility from Hit-Boy that a lot of people didn't know about. And I think that lends him very well to do music with Nas. So here's a clip of him talking about some of his history.
A lot of people don't know that I was doing, crazy songs for the Game or crazy songs for G-Unit that had the boom bap vibe to it. They thought I just was a club producer. But I've been, I was producing for them in 07, 08, making hard gangster rap, And people just don't know. That's why it's coming full circle right now.
It's real. I'm one of those people. I'm guilty as charged. I never really knew about him until Watch the Throne.
Yeah.
And so I didn't know his history was that deep until I started listening to interviews and digging into him more for this. And that's why it works.
Yeah, like on some real, I didn't really pay as much attention until King's Disease on some real. Like,
real.
I mean, I had heard the tag, you know what I'm saying? Like, I knew he was a producer. I had heard the name, but I never really paid as much attention to the beats that he had made before. Yeah. And now when I listen to certain records and it's got that tag, I'm like, yo.
Yeah.
I didn't even know. I had no idea. You know what I'm saying? Because he has been around for a minute.
Yeah. Kanye West, Jay-Z, Beyonce.
Yep.
Like, his track record is crazy. Big Sean. Like, he's got a long fucking track record.
Yeah.
He worked under Polo the Don when he was 16.
Crazy.
You know what I mean? Got his first publishing deal like 17, 18 years old from his relationship with Polo the Don. Polo the Don found him on the internet.
Yeah.
So it's like, he's been around for a long time. And it's not like he's just trying to make boom bap because he thinks that's what Nas likes. Like, he likes making that shit. He can make that shit well. He's versatile. And that's why he can get the work he can get. And that's why he can get albums with guys.
Right.
As opposed to just a single with guys.
Yeah, and this is also, back to the Premier thing that we were talking about. This is why there's not that many artists that do a record with Premier. Yep. You know what I'm saying? This is why, this is probably why, the shit that Premier did with Royce the 5'9", why they had to go into like, okay, let's get Adrian Young and use all original samples and shit. That way it will sound somewhat different and it won't be pigeonholed into this, Premier choppy sample, you know what I'm saying, kind of thing that he does. And that was a breath of fresh air being, produced by Premier, but he needed a different different toolbox. You know what I'm
Yes.
saying?
Very true.
To work with and make it sound different.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree, man. It's a tool. It's okay to have your signature sound, but many artists today, they do want to have some variation on those albums that they're making.
Right.
So, you know, and that does play a part as to whether they choose you to produce that whole album.
Yeah.
So that's it this week, man. That's it this week, man. This is a bit of a shorter episode, you know, but, you know, I hope that this helps everyone understand why the pairing between Hit-Boy and Nas has worked. You know, I'm going to read all 5 of these things back. Number 1 is compliment the artist, don't compete with them. Number 2 is put the artist's strengths first. Number 3 is no agenda, no politics. Number 4 is that personality matters. And number 5 is versatility. If you are a producer, music maker, make sure that your art is fire. Make sure your beats are dope. But don't forget any of these things that we talked about in this episode. They are all going to be important, and they will all serve you well once you start working with vocalists or other people.
Word.
And so that's it for this week. We will see you all next week.
Word. Peace.
Peace.
Thank you for listening to Super Duty Tough Work. Subscribe to the podcast on iTunes. Follow the podcast on SoundCloud. Peace.
Shoot, I got styles already that's more complex that nobody know about. I mean, super duty tough work.